So, Michael, if somebody's new to Bitcoin and they're trying to get in, what are some of the tips they should follow?
Well, I mean, most importantly, one of the things that we were looking at earlier today was just that in general, if the only reason you've heard about a Bitcoin ATM is because for some random reason you're getting a really good deal or you need to send money to some person you don't know, that you should probably stay away, that there's too much scams and stuff going on using these ATMs right now. And it's not us as the operators. Obviously, it's not our fault, but I mean, you just have a lot of scams and a lot of just bad stuff going on. So I would just caution people, if you're, trying out Bitcoin and you're going to use an ATM for the first time, go there and buy $5 or €5 worth of Bitcoin and figure out how it works. And if somebody is calling you and telling you that they have your data and they're holding it ransom, or that you can buy a car for 90% discount if you just send them Bitcoin right now, you should probably call your police department and not go visit an ATM.
Good tips, good tips. Also, another way to go, if you have an established bank account or something, you can use some of the more regulated exchanges, depending on the country that you're in. But still, in Venezuela, there's a huge amount of Bitcoin adoption right now and growing day by day. So as the Venezuelan currency continues to decline at a
the Bolivar, yeah, hyperinflation.
Bitcoin has remained very steady in helping the citizens of that country operate.
When I was in Venezuela probably about 2 years ago, we had a little Bitcoin mining operation we were playing around with down there. And literally to pay the electrical bill, which was, I don't even know how much, I would say less than $100 a month. Power is essentially free there. But to pay the $100 a month electrical bill, you need an entire fucking garbage bag full of bolivars.
How do you even count all that?
It's impossible. And they estimate that a large percentage of it is fake. When your largest bill is not even worth $1, I mean, how much importance is there to verifying if it's real or not?
And by the time you get done counting, it would have inflated more.
I'm pretty sure that they said that the garbage bags were cheaper than the bills.
Oh my God.
Sorry, the garbage bags were more expensive than the bills. Toilet paper was more expensive than the money.
Yeah, I saw another picture. They just had bills just lying in the street. Nobody to pick them up.
Well, what they did was about, don't quote me on the exact dates, but a couple of years ago, what they did is they introduced new bills. So the largest was, I think, 100 Bolivar. And they introduced 500 and 1,000, and I think eventually 5,000 Bolivar notes. And when they did this, they told everyone, yeah, you got to bring your old currency to the bank. You have, 48 hours or something to trade it in, or else it's going to be worthless next week. And in 1 week, we're not going to take 100 Bolivar notes anymore. So I saw photos of people waiting in line with garbage bags full of Bolivars, trying to get, waiting in line for 12 hours to go to the bank to trade their 100s for 500s. It's just a big mess. But when you have things like this, it happens in other countries as well. This is why these guys really, really, really focus on cryptocurrencies and decentralized currencies, because when your entire livelihood, like your bank account, can be worth half as much in a week because of inflation in currency, you really start to think, wait a minute, what else is out there? So I think that Venezuela is ahead of the game in general, with their citizens paying attention to what monies are available and what digital currencies are out there, and all this kind of stuff. I think it's inevitable that eventually also in the United States and in Spain we'll have similar issues. I mean, no currency lives forever.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, the U.S. dollar is still so far holding its ground, but there's so many negative pressures on it between the tariff, the yields are upside down. You got a lot of pressures on the U.S. dollars. The debt is just skyrocketing. So it's just a matter of time before that one's going to face the same problem as the Bolivars.
Right. And I mean, every idiot knows that if you have something of value, and you create a giant machine to print an unlimited supply of it without keeping it in check, that it's no longer going to eventually be valuable. I mean, this is not rocket science here. So I think that that's going to be one of the largest problems we see with some of these traditional fiat currencies, especially the U.S. dollar, is just like we can't print it at whimsically, like it's yeah. So I think that a lot of the fiat currencies are going to be in big trouble.
Exactly. All right. Well, in other news, we got the whole fake Toshi lawsuit has finally come to an end, and fake Toshi now owes something like $5 billion in a judgment. I mean, that makes him overnight. He went from one of the supposedly richest men in the world to one of the poorest.
Well, so, I don't know, $5 billion. If you're actually Satoshi and you have that million Bitcoins just chilling, I guess $5 billion is not too much, is it?
Exactly. He could just take half his holdings and he'd be good, right?
Yeah, he only owns 500,000 Bitcoin, exactly.
Oh, man. That's just a crazy court case. That's the thing, though. He doesn't have any of those Bitcoins. But the law now says he does.
Do you want to read a little bit more from this article or something to give us a little more background here? Or what are you talking about exactly? What was this court case? What was this lawsuit? Can you give us some more details?
Yeah, sure. So this was the Craig Wright court case. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I guess from the Kleinman estate. So Craig Wright and Kleinman were supposedly partners back in the day doing some kind of Bitcoin mining or something. I'm not sure if they ever did Bitcoin mining, but he has some documents and a contract between Dave Kleinman and himself, I guess supposedly saying that he's going to do some mining. So this whole time, he's been saying that he is his contract valid or something like that, but Kleinman then sued, saying that actually half the estate should have been his. Half of that mining operation should have been his. And so actually, with the court case, the court agrees, and also the court has said that Craig Wright has actually fabricated some of these documents. So there you are. Craig Wright now owes Kleinman, the Kleinman estate, $5 billion.
5 million or billion?
Billion, Pete.
Billion. Jeez, oh, Pete. Okay. I wasn't following that all so closely. I remember Craig Wright's coming out claiming he was Satoshi and all this a couple of years ago, but I never really I never really took it too seriously. I think we talked about this in one of the older episodes. Again, if Satoshi needed a way to prove that he was out and about and wanted to show it, he could easily just sign a transaction. Like, there's no reason to debate if or if not, and there's no way Satoshi lost his password or whatever else. So
I don't know. That didn't line up. Like I said it on an earlier show. There is a transaction that the real Satoshi did with Hal Finney, and that belonged to an IP address in California, like Van Nuys or something like that, a cable modem connection. So that was the one time he forgot to mask his IP address on a real transaction. So he was in Van Nuys, and Craig, I don't think had ever been in Van Nuys. So there's no way he could be Satoshi. Same as any of the other fake Toshis. None of them were in Van Nuys.
Well, it could also have some IP masquerading going on or something like that. I mean, if I was trying to hide myself, I would hack somebody's cable modem and use it as my exit IP instead of where I actually was. I don't think that would be beyond Satoshi's capabilities.
It may not be beyond his capabilities, but too many things line up to be he was in a home, that home in Van Nuys, wherever that was at that time. I mean, it was based on the early days, this was the early days, this was the request from Hal Finney. I really believe he just simply forgot to VPN before he did the transaction. I mean, it would just be too casual of a thing.
Is anybody tracking this IP down or something? Is there any? Has there been a link made or anything like that?
so far, the only other news that I've seen that's close to that is McAfee seemed to figure out who Satoshi was. He was going to reveal his identity. He claimed to talk to Satoshi. I don't know if that's true. But he would have the resources necessary to unmask that IP. He would. I mean, anybody that can go in and like the NSA, they probably figured it out.
Yeah, well, that's, again, they might be some government agency. We're not even sure, what's going on here, how misdirected we are.
So that's the latest in Craig Wright news. Other than that, Bitcoin remains very strong. There was that report that said that they actually believe that Bitcoin owns 90% of the market cap based on the dominance factor. So what do you think about that? Do you think all altcoins are becoming worthless now?
Well, I think it's really hard to put to simplify it to the point to say that Bitcoin is now 90% or something like this. I think that a lot of different coins have very different purposes, and they're not all for storing value like Bitcoin is intended for. So I think it's really hard to say, if it's 90%. But again, on the ATMs, 99% of our customers want Bitcoin and only Bitcoin. But I think there's a lot of new currencies that are doing new things and that could be interesting, and that it won't always be Bitcoin. So I don't know. I don't know exactly. What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree. I think some of the other coins do have value. For example, Ethereum as a programmable smart contract definitely has some value to it.
But Ether was never supposed to be a store of value. Ether was supposed to always just be an anti-spam mechanism, a gas to required in transactions so that there wasn't spam everywhere, so we weren't wasting this decentralized computer. Ether was never really meant to be $1,000 or something.
True. But again, I mean, there's the idea that we can have a programmable cryptocurrency to do things like, for example, collectibles and the whole collectible market. There's actually now several different games that use an Ethereum-based ERC20 contract to where you could easily buy game currency and buy your digital assets. All without the need for banks. It's a lot harder to do that with Bitcoin, and it's actually very easy to do that with the ERC20.
Yeah, but so far as actual market capital, even the ERC20 contracts are not usually denominated in Ethereum. They're usually denominated in Bitcoin or some other kind of a store of value token. I mean, I don't even think Vitalik himself ever envisioned that Ethereum would be, I mean, I've heard him talk about this before, that it was never going to be it wasn't meant to be Bitcoin. It was meant to be a decentralized, autonomous organization to process smart contracts, not to store value. So I think it's unfair to compare like Ethereum's market capital to Bitcoin, seeing as a lot of the Ethereum smart contracts are denominated in Bitcoin. So, I mean, Ethereum is not like, or at least to me, it's not a currency, really. It's just an anti-spam. It's a decentralized computer. It's a huge decentralized anonymous computer.
Well, great point. So I agree that Bitcoin definitely remains at the store of value. But as far as what is valuable on the other cryptocurrencies, there certainly is a value to computing power and
exactly. But we're never going to be able. We won't be able to easily represent that in market cap, though. We can't say that Bitcoin's more useful or Ethereum's more useful solely based on market cap, because Bitcoin is really intended as a store of value, and Ethereum is more of a kind of decentralized computer for running contracts. So I don't ever expect that Ethereum is going to be altogether more valuable than Bitcoin, especially since a lot of the contracts are denominated in Bitcoin. Just because you're on the Ethereum blockchain doesn't mean that you're not denominating your transactions in Bitcoin.
True. Well, meanwhile, we got the United Kingdom central bank governor, right? He's coming out saying that he wants to create his own global cryptocurrency perhaps as a way to stall off Brexit, right? So, what do you think about that, Michael?
I think Venezuela tried this. I think a few people have tried it. One of the biggest problems you're going to have is that, you know, what's the purpose of having a cryptocurrency that is decentralized and all these other benefits if a government is going to be administrating it? So, I mean, what's the purpose in being a cryptocurrency if the government's controlling it? It's kind of like a lot of these businesses these days say, hey, we want to be on the blockchain. We want to be crypto this and crypto that, and blockchain this and blockchain that. But what's the point in having a provable, decentralized public ledger if all the information provided to the ledger is by one company or one government? I don't think it really. I guess maybe they'll claim transparency. So yeah, if we use cryptocurrencies for our legal government currency, it's going to be more transparent or something. I don't know. I don't see the need for cryptocurrency in a government. It just doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense, but still, I think they're going to try to do it because of what happened with Libra, for example, shows that there's an interest in it, just not by Facebook, right?
So it's just like a buzzword, though.
Right. So I think they're going to try to make one. It may even rank number one on market cap for a while, but I think people will rise up and realize it's also backed by the same problems as a deflationary or inflationary fiat currency. So you want to go with something that's more deflationary, like Bitcoin.
Well, right, and more decentralized. I mean, the whole idea here of cryptocurrency, at least for me and a lot of the users, is not the it's transparency, it's freedom of money, it's not having one government or someone control it. I just don't know why we want governments involved in our money. I don't really need a government to be involved in my money. I am perfectly happy with a peer-to-peer system where my money is controlled by my peers and my colleagues and my friends, and not by people with guns and weapons and banks. So I just don't know if the government creates, say, cryptocurrency tomorrow, I probably wouldn't want any of it. I mean, there's lots of shit coins out there.
Actually, I mean, the main thing about Bitcoin is that there is no one person involved in the decision-making process for Bitcoin. It's that trustless type of a system. That's why it works so well. So any central government or business that tries to make their own currency, and I think they're going to run into a lot of friction with people trying to use it because, I mean, same thing happens with in the United States. There's a couple of things that happen with currencies that really affect people. One, there's been people that have done just basic women, 18-year-old college girls that have done videos, and they go down to their bank and they find their bank account has been closed and their account seized, all because they did some video. They updated a Pornhub, just one time, right? They're college students. There's been people that I've had. There was a couple that had just had a wedding. They got all their gifts, gift cards as gifts, right? Their gifts as gift cards, right? So they had some like $4,000 or $5,000 worth of gift cards that they started their honeymoon. The police pulled them over for speeding, saw the gift cards, and confiscated it all. They sued the money, and they spent like $2,000 trying to get their $5,000 back.
Well, they did this to me. I got pulled over one time in my Mercedes when I was up in Aspen, Colorado. I got pulled over and I just emptied an ATM machine, and I had the receipt from the ATM, and they said, well, no, because you have $1 bills and $5 bills. ATMs only have like $20 bills or $50 bills. And I'm sitting here trying to explain to this guy, no, we are a Bitcoin ATM. And he's calling me a fraud. So I'm pulling up on my phone. I'm showing, here's EasyBit's website. Here's my name, my face. Here's our FinCEN ID number, all this stuff. And he says, listen, kid, I've been doing this a long time. We know you're up to no good. If you were actually a legitimate money services business, you wouldn't have this cash all right, fine. It was in a grocery bag in my front seat of my car. But I mean, like, is there some law that says like how I have to transport the cash from the ATM to the bank? He says, but yeah, legitimate businesses don't carry their cash in shopping bags and this. Okay, dude, whatever. But yeah, I completely understand. And it took me 6 months. I had to hire a lawyer. This is a 5-hour drive from Denver, Colorado, where I was residing at the time. So I had to pay my lawyer and me 5 hours each direction to go up there, to go to court 4 or 5 times to argue about getting what was mine back. And but the worst part is you know what they told me? They said, we're impounding your car and we took the cash because we didn't want it to get lost.
Ah.
So it was just like, oh, great. And then they come to me and they say, we triple counted it. This took about 3 hours. And they come to me and I'm sitting in the holding cell waiting for this all to get figured out. And they come to me and they say, we've triple counted your cash. We had 3 different officers verify it. So don't worry, your money is safe. I'm thinking, why don't you just leave my money in my fucking car and lock the doors? Because I don't care how many police officers count my money in the middle of the night here in your police officer station that claim, so what, if there's 10 police that count the money, what does that mean? That I get half as much? Like, the more people that count it, if one person's corrupt, they're all going to be corrupt. I mean, where do they have the right to even take cash out of my car?
That's the thing. It's a trustworthy currency. So you have to trust the government with the currency. So that's really the difference.
The other thing they did to me is they told me that it was I was going too fast. I was speeding. And they told me my fine was going to be $500 or something like this. And since I was not a Colorado resident, that I had to pay it in cash right now. And I said, okay, no problem. I had whatever in my car. Just, no, sorry, we can't take it out of there. That money is under investigation. Okay, well, in my wallet, I had $1,000. Take it out. No, sorry, sir. That money's been forfeited as well. You're going to have to call the bail bondsman, and he will give you he will take $50 to lend you $500 until you can. Oh man, I did eventually get my money back, but it should be noted that the judge ordered a certain amount be returned, and it was $150 less than that certain amount the judge ordered to be returned. So not even the police follow the judge's orders in this. This is a big problem, though, when banks won't work with us. So instead of me going to the bank and saying, hey, man, I got 100 ATMs. I need you to send a guy with, an armored truck and a bulletproof vest and a machine gun and collect my cash for me, so that it's, no. I'm running around in my car with not garbage bags, but shopping bags full of cash, trying to figure it out, arguing with police that don't even know what a Bitcoin is. It's not even, it's just ridiculous. Like they...
Yep, that's the thing. It's the main thing is civil asset forfeiture is definitely a law that needs to be updated and fixed so that it's not affecting more of the good guys. People that are trying to buy homes, people that are just going their honeymoon, people that are just normal, everyday citizens. You
don't have to give any reason why someone should need to have some cash with them. As capitalist society, we should be provided the right to private property. And if I have my private property with me, I don't need to give you any fucking reason why. If I want to have $1 million in cash with me in my car all the time because I fucking feel like it, that should be fine. There should be there's no crime in just possessing currency. And since the banks refuse to work with the Bitcoin people and we're forced to do it and the police don't understand what's going on, it's really putting a lot of people in a bad position. It did the same thing in the marijuana industry where the banks and people won't work with the cash. So what do you got? You got a bunch of people with a bunch of weed and a bunch of cash. Somebody's going to get killed here. Somebody's going to get shot. This is dangerous. It
has happened, actually. So, but again, if you have everything in Bitcoin, there really is no problem there. It can't be seized. It can't be seized. It can't be confiscated without your permission. And that's the key.
Well, we'll see how that works out when people, claim that they don't have passwords or they don't have access to keys and stuff like that, and the government thinks they do. So, I mean, this is gonna happen. Somebody's gonna eventually say, "I lost the password," and the government's gonna say, "Well, wait a minute, no, we think you have it, so we're gonna throw you in jail until you come up with the password." I mean, something's gonna happen. There's no provable.
But at least it's not shopping bags of cash in a car,
Well,
Or
I guarantee you. So when I was getting in this whole situation, one of the other policemen was like, "Yeah, man, I do some moonlighting or whatever, and I empty ATM machines as an off-duty cop for a private company. And sure, we put it in a shopping bag all the time. It doesn't, what difference does it make? What do they want me to do? They want me to have like a big locking briefcase or something? Who cares?"
yeah, it just doesn't make sense. But that's the thing. So Bitcoin definitely got a leg up on the fiat competition when it comes to privacy and security. So,
Well, I don't know about with privacy because actually I think that cash is much more private than Bitcoin.
well, true, but I'm talking about privacy in terms of, when you're in your car or when you're walking through the airport, you're not going to have any obvious signs of those currencies, right?
Yeah,
So even with
this is
yeah,
correct.
so even with things like credit cards and things like that, the banks definitely know all of your transactions, right? But with Bitcoin, I mean, you can have multiple different wallets. You can create a whole new wallet. It just makes it that much more difficult to track exactly what you're doing.
Or that much easier.
Well, it depends, but still,
Yeah.
there's a lot of different ways to anonymize your transaction, even on Bitcoin. Even just going to an altcoin, you go from Bitcoin to an altcoin, and now it's even further anonymized. So,
I
I mean,
still think that if you want to do something anonymous, that a bag of US dollars or a bag of gold is probably far more anonymous than Bitcoin.
true, but Bitcoin is much easier to be spent. I mean, there was a reporter with, I think, Business Week a few weeks back. She actually tried to buy things with gold or a Bitcoin, and she found it easier to buy things with Bitcoin.
I don't think I've ever bought anything with gold in my life except for Bitcoin.
Yeah, there you go. So, what other thoughts or news you want to cover today, Michael?
Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. I'm over in the north of Spain here doing the El Camino, which is a big walk that the pilgrims used to do. And we came up here for my birthday to do that. So sorry if the Joesmoe show is a little bit unorganized this week, but we were trying to do our first live show here, and I think we're accomplishing that. And yeah, I think we're doing pretty well here. So if anybody's watching, we really appreciate you.
All right, stay tuned with us for next week. We're going to have another show, and we'll have
Next
a few
week we have Sheldon from Coin Vault is going to be joining us. We're going to be talking about some of the Bitcoin ATM industry stuff. We'll have Emilio back with us as well. So yeah, next week should be a really, really good show about just all sorts of nonsense in Bitcoin ATMs, from RoboCoin taking people's $20,000 a machine for licenses and then going bankrupt and then selling the name off to other people, to the new machines that Genesis Coin are launching, to all sorts of topics. So yeah, if you're at all interested in Bitcoin ATMs, next week you should definitely tune back in.
Very cool. Well, I'm Jeff, and here with me is Michael, and we're glad to have you.
Hey, thank you everyone, and have a great day. May all of your cryptocurrency wishes come true.